And do you recognize the name David McCardle?
I recognize the name very vaguely, and I recognize the name very, very vaguely. Cushman, Wakefield. Yes, I recognize the name.
And does this refresh your recollection that in mid-2014, Cushman and Wakefield had been retained to provide consulting services related to an analysis of the estimated value of a potential conservation easement on all or part of the Seven Springs estate?
Truthfully, Andy, it really doesn't. This isn't to me. I didn't sign this. This looked like it was something between Sherry Dillon and Cushman and Wakefield. It's extremely consistent with what she would have done. It's extremely inconsistent with what my role is at the company. I just don't. I think I was very kind of clear that, to the best of my knowledge, I really haven't been involved. In appraisal work on this property.
Well, are you saying that this engagement could have happened without your knowledge and approval?
I'm just saying I don't remember this. I'm not on here. I never signed this document. I just don't seem to recall anything about this. I pour concrete. I operate properties. I don't focus on appraisals between a law firm and Cushman. This is just not. It's not what I do in my day-to-day responsibilities. And I hardly recognize the name.
Well, that was Eric Trump at his deposition in connection with the New York Attorney General's civil fraud case, which is now in its fifth week of trial. This may be hard to believe, but Eric performed far worse when he testified earlier today, and his brother, Don Jr., also testified, and both essentially demonstrated just what a fraudulent enterprise the Trump organization is and just what liars they are. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. So I guess the strategy by Don Jr. and Eric, who were the co-trustees of the Trump Revocable Trust. They were the leaders of the Trump organization mostly during the relevant time period. I guess what their whole defense was going to be was just to play stupid, was just to say, we don't know anything. I don't know the statement of financial conditions, and I wasn't responsible for these certifications, and I don't know what generally accepted accounting principles are. It was the fault of the accountants. It was the fault of the lawyers. It was the fault of the tax advisors. And first and foremost, because they are in fiduciary roles, that would not be an excuse in general under New York law. But even if it was, what came out during some scathing cross-examination today of both Don Jr. and Eric Trump by the New York Attorney General's legal team was that both were on all of these emails confirming that they knew these things, that they were intimately aware of these things, and now they are feigning ignorance because I guess they think that's a legal strategy, but it just makes them look extremely liable. It got to a point where Don Jr. was on his second day of testimony where Judge Engoron just had enough, and Judge Engoron, the judge presiding over the case, asked Don Jr. a question and said, Don Jr., Mr. Trump, Did you have anything to do with these statements of financial condition at all? Let's just cut to the chase here. You're a co-trustee. You are supposed to be responsible for the statements of financial condition in your fiduciary role. Did you have anything to do with it at all? The judge asked the question, to which Don Jr. responded, "No, I did not, Your Honor," which conflicted with other testimony Don Jr. gave because, as reported by Adam Klasfeld, who was in the court, Don Jr. was shown another certification to Deutsche Bank that he signed on October 31, 2017. And lo and behold, guess what was attached to Deutsche Bank in an email? Oh, if you guessed it was the statement of financial condition, ding, 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 you would be right. So the question from the New York Attorney General's lawyer, you signed the certification intending that the bank would rely on it. That's why you attached the statement of financial condition. True? Don Jr.'s response, well, I would be fine with them relying on it. So the New York Attorney General repeated the question. Don Jr. tried, according to Adam Klasfeld, who was in the courthouse, tried to dance around the question of his intent. But then the New York Attorney General said, Mr. Trump, this is a simple yes or no question. You signed the certification intending that the bank would rely on it. Yes or no? And Don Jr. says, I don't know. I assumed the banks would perform their own due diligence. In other words, he says, I sent them the statements of financial conditions. Who cares if they had erroneous and fraudulent information? I expected them to try to catch our fraud.
Being on top of your mental health game is so important. And as you know, we here at the MeidasTouch Network are working around the clock. And it's easy to fall into bad habits or routines because, well, life gets in the way, especially with your diet. Frankly, I think most people can relate. Everyday life does get in the way, making it challenging to find a healthy snack without all the sugar and junk. Now, if you're busy and constantly on the go like me, you need to try Mosh. It's a protein bar made for your brain. With 6 delicious flavors, each Mosh bar includes 12 grams of protein and is made with ingredients that support brain health like ashwagandha, lion's mane, collagen, and omega-3s. At 160 calories and only 1 gram of sugar, Mosh protein bars are the guilt-free snack your brain and body will crave. Your brain is your number one tool, which is why Mosh protein bars were mindfully formulated by some of the top neuroscientists and functional nutritionists. Mosh now has a new line of plant-powered protein bars in 3 delicious flavors for those who want all of the protein and brain support of the original bar, now made with plant-based ingredients. I have a Mosh bar literally every day to kick off my morning, and it has totally improved my performance. I love the taste, especially of the peanut butter Mosh bar. Delicious. Not to mention the packaging, it makes it super easy to take them with me if I ever find myself hungry between meetings. Don't settle for a mediocre snack when you can nourish your body and mind with the fuel it needs to succeed. So whether you're at the gym, on the go, or living your best life, Mosh protein bars will keep your brain fit, fueled, and feeling good. Head to moshlife.com/Meidas to save 20% off plus free shipping on your first 6-count trial pack. That's 20% off plus free shipping on your first 6-count trial pack, which includes all 6 mouth-watering flavors. moshlife.com/Meidas.
And then Don Jr. said, look, when it came to accounting, for all things accounting, I relied on the accountants, I relied on the lawyers. Well, then Don Jr. was shown his signature on other documents, like this loan document from Deutsche Bank, dated March 13, 2007. And here, Don Jr., though, you were signing as the attorney in fact for your father. Is that correct? Because here's what the document attests to, Mr. Trump. The foregoing presents fairly in all material respects the financial condition of the guarantor at the period presented. Do you recall this document? And Don Jr. says, I don't recall signing this specific document. Is this the type of document, Mr. Trump, that you would sign certifying that the foregoing statement of financial condition presents fairly in all material respects the financial condition of the guarantor at the period presented? Answer. I'm sure I've signed dozens of these certifications in my time as trustee. So then the New York Attorney General showed Don Jr. over and over again, okay, well, that's 2017 where you certified. Here's 2018 where you certified. Here's 2019 where you certified. Here's 2020 where you certified. To which Don Jr. responded, yup, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat is what Don Jr. testified to. You don't get much more devastating in a fraud case on your fraudulent statement of financial conditions than saying rinse and repeat. And then the New York Attorney General went through all of the certifications that way. The next up was Eric Trump. Eric Trump did not do much better because Eric Trump tried to say he's not familiar with the statements of financial condition. I've showed you previously other deposition testimony where Eric says, statements of financial condition, that's not what I don't look at that. I'm just someone who pours concrete. I don't do statement of financial conditions. Well, the New York Attorney General's office started cross-examining Eric in detail and started going through the different emails and different properties. So the New York Attorney General said, yes or no, Eric? Were you aware that Jeff McConney, the controller, would ask for your assistance with your father's annual financial statements like it says in this email? Is that something that you would be aware of? Or how about this, where Alan Weisselberg told you, Eric, in an email that that Weisselberg and the Trump organization wanted to delay paying off a loan in connection with your Seven Springs property to keep the cash balance in your dad's financial statements as high as possible. So then Eric had to admit that he understood that as of the date of that email, that these statements were prepared each year and had a cash balance component. Okay, Eric, so it does seem that you are aware of what these emails are about. So it seems like you were involved in these statements of financial condition as demonstrated by these emails. You see, because in Eric's deposition that was taken, unlike the testimony, they didn't confront Eric necessarily with the emails. They just let Eric basically walk into it and kind of trap himself in his lies. So then the New York Attorney General asked, and by the way, hat tip to Lisa Rubin, who's in the crowd, who's been live tweeting a lot of this stuff. So then the New York Attorney General's lawyer says, Mr. Trump, Eric, you understood as of the date of this email that your father had an annual financial statement that included liquidity as well as his overall net worth. Is that correct? Yes, I understood that. You read those, right? You read these statements of financial condition. Eric then acknowledges that he did read that and that he would have understood what the Trump organization was doing when they prepared the statement of financial conditions. So then the New York Attorney General's office said, okay, well, here's what you said at your deposition. And they played the part of the deposition of Eric Trump where he said he wasn't aware of his statement of financial conditions. Here, let me play you that portion right here. Play the clip.
I don't remember a video conference in 2021 talking about the statement of financial condition. Did I mean, maybe you could show me something, but again, I don't think I ever signed a statement of financial condition. I don't, I've done a lot to try and jog my memory, and I simply can't because I don't think I've ever had any involvement in the statement of financial condition, to the best of my knowledge.
Right. So Eric was saying in there, to the best of my knowledge, it's not something I saw. I don't do that. I'm not statement of financial conditions the person. So then the New York Attorney General says, well, okay, now, after seeing all of these emails that I'm showing you, will you now concede, Eric, that you were well aware of your dad's statement of financial condition by the time of these emails that I am showing you? And Eric goes, well, I'm not saying that I'm very familiar with it. Well, are you familiar with it, Eric? Yes or no? So Eric did have to admit, yes, unlike that he said in his deposition testimony, that he did know as of August 2013 that people like Jeff McConney, the controller of the Trump organization, were soliciting information from him to use in statements of financial condition. Question: Mr. Trump, will you now agree that you knew about the backup for these statements of financial conditions? Eric tries to act like he doesn't know, but Eric's trapped because he knows now the New York Attorney General actually has the financials. So Eric has to admit, yes, that he was aware, and he was aware of the backup. And the New York Attorney General has the data basically to show it. And then the New York Attorney General's office goes into the fact that Eric was aware of the appraiser and the appraisal that was done on the properties, and specifically from Cushman and Wakefield, which Eric claims he did not know, and that Eric was aware of this appraisal, and that Eric had some knowledge of the existence of that because he's on the emails showing that he has knowledge of this. So Eric is shown emails where the appraiser says, per a conversation with Eric, that he intends to perform a discounted cash flow analysis. So it's not just that like Eric was aware of the statements. Eric and the appraiser were talking about what type of formula would be used, and that formula was ultimately rejected and not used, even though it was used by the appraiser, and the information was not turned over to Meiselas, the accounting firm, and others. And so the appraisal ultimately was ignored on the statement of financial conditions for basically whatever number Donald Trump picked out. So you see right there, folks, this is not good for the Trumps. It's good for justice, but wow. Wow. There you have it. Eric's testifying, Don Jr., and then we got Donald Trump testifying next week. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 2 million subscribers thanks to your support. If you want to support the growth of this independent media network, also check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Have a good day.
Hey Midas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.